Okay, quick thing before we start the show. Big changes are happening all around us. Are you ready? In my new book, Super Shifts, we uncovered the massive transformations reshaping how we live, work, and think in the age of intelligence. From AI to the future of work, this book is your guide to navigating what's next. Get your copy of Super Shifts today, available wherever books are sold. Because the future isn't coming, it's already here. Okay, let's start the show.
Welcome to the Think Forward podcast, where we speak with futurists, innovators, and big thinkers. Come along with your host, Steve Fisher, and explore the future together.
Welcome back to Foundations in Foresight, a Think Forward series. I'm Steve Fisher, and today we're talking about the things that no one sees coming, or at least the things most people don't see coming. You know the moments I'm talking about, the events that change everything overnight. The financial crashes, the pandemics, the sudden breakthroughs, the how did we not see this coming disasters. These are what we call black swans and wildcards, the unpredictable high-impact events that throw a wrench into business strategies, global systems, and sometimes everyday life. Now you might be thinking, Steve, if these events are unpredictable, what's the point of even thinking about them? Fair question, but here's the thing. Just because you can't predict exactly when or how something will happen doesn't mean you can't prepare for it. And that's what we're going to unpack today. We'll break down what black swans and wildcards are, how they've shaped history, and what you can actually do to be ready for the next big disruption. So what are black swans and wildcards? Let's start with black swans. The term comes from author and statistician Nassim Nicholas Taleb, who wrote a book called The Black Swan. Highly recommend, by the way. A black swan is an event that is unexpected, has a massive impact, and only seems obvious in hindsight. Think about September 11th. Before it happened, the idea of terrorists using commercial planes as weapons wasn't on most people's radar. After it happened, it seemed so obvious that we should have seen it coming. That's the black swan effect. Before it happens, it's almost unthinkable. After it happens, it feels inevitable. Or take the 2008 financial crisis. In the years leading up to it, very few people were sounding the alarm about the subprime mortgage market. Then, when it all collapsed, everyone suddenly saw the warning signs they had missed. Wildcards, on the other hand, are similar but a little different. They're low probability, high impact events, but unlike black swans, they can sometimes be anticipated. They're the long shots that could shake things up if they ever actually materialized. Think about the idea of quantum computing breaking modern encryption. That's not something that's likely to happen tomorrow, but if it did, it would change cybersecurity, banking, and data privacy overnight. That's a wildcard. It's possible, just not very likely in the immediate future. Why do black swans and wildcards matter? All right, so these events are rare. Why should we spend time thinking about them? Because when they do happen, they redefine everything. Entire industries have been wiped out by black swans. Others have been created in their wake. Companies that are too rigid, too focused on business as usual, tend to struggle when the unexpected happens. But the ones that are ready, the ones that think ahead, are the ones that survive and even thrive in uncertainty. Look at how companies responded to COVID-19. Some businesses collapsed because they were caught completely off guard. Others pivoted fast, switching supply chains, adopting remote work, or moving operations online because they had the ability to adapt to unexpected disruption. This is why wildcard thinking is so important. Even if an event seems unlikely, asking what if, and stress testing your assumptions can make you more resilient when a black swan does hit. Can you prepare for the unpredictable? The short answer? Yes. You might not be able to predict when the next black swan will occur, but you can build systems that are more adaptive, resilient, and shock-proof. Here are a few ways to do that. First, build flexibility into your strategy. If your business model, career, or organization is built on a single rigid path, you're vulnerable to disruption. Companies that survived COVID, for example, were often the ones that could pivot quickly, whether it was shifting to online sales, rethinking supply chains, or even changing their entire product offering. Second, practice scenario planning. We talked about this back in our episode on futures research methods. The idea is to explore multiple what-if scenarios, including low probability, high-impact events. What if there was a major cyber attack tomorrow? What if climate policies changed overnight? What if a new competitor completely disrupted your industry? By thinking through these possibilities now, you won't be scrambling if one of them actually happens. Third, pay attention to the weak signals. In our last episode, we talked about how small, early shifts can hint at larger changes to come. Many black swans, when you look back, actually started as weak signals that most people ignored. If you train yourself to spot these early patterns, you can get ahead of some disruptions before they hit full force. And finally, embrace anti-fragility. Taleb, the guy who wrote The Black Swan, talks a lot about this concept. It's the idea that some systems don't just survive shocks, they get stronger because of them. Think about how the immune system works. It learns from stress and adapts. Businesses and individuals can do the same. Instead of just trying to avoid risk, build structures that allow you to learn and grow from uncertainty. Black swans and wild cards are the events that change everything overnight. You can't always predict them, but you can prepare for them. Organizations and people who are flexible, open to multiple futures, and ready to pivot when needed are the ones that survive disruption and even come out ahead. So here's my challenge for you. Think about your own work, business, or industry. What's one black swan or wild card event that could completely change the game? Something that seems unlikely, but not impossible? And if it did happen, how would you respond? If you start building that kind of thinking into your planning now, you'll be in a far better position when the next big shock arrives, because history tells us it will. Well, that's it for today's episode of Think Forward's Foundations and Foresight. If you're enjoying the series, go back and check out previous episodes where we lay the groundwork for better futures thinking. And stick around, because next time, we're going to talk about how metaphors shape the way we think about the future, and why the language we use matters more than we realize. Until then, stay curious and always think forward.
Thanks for listening to the Think Forward podcast. You can find us on all the major podcast platforms and at www.thinkforwardshow.com, as well as on YouTube under Think Forward Show. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to the show. Now, about that thing I mentioned earlier about the book Super Shifts. Imagine having a playbook to navigate what's coming next. That's exactly why I wrote Super Shifts, to help you understand and prepare for the seismic changes shaping our world. Don't just react. Get ahead. Super Shifts is available now, wherever you get your books. And if you order today, you'll get exclusive bonus content. Head to supershiftsbook.com and grab your copy now and start future-proofing your life. The future won't wait. Why should you?